actually done. And so I just wanted to put this on tape, that in actuality is done through the black churches. So what happens is when you go into the church and you pray to a deity, and you think the deity is up in the sky, which in actuality you're supposed to be actually focusing on your inner self, which is the true heaven, and you pray to that particular deity, wherever you focus your energy is wherever that energy goes to. So therefore, if they tell you that the Father's in heaven, and I told you that they said that there will beyond the heavens, and so they said that the Father's in heaven and you focusing on this particular deity, in actuality you are giving this subordinate deity juice. So what happens is when black people go in these particular churches every Sunday, and some people damn 3 and 4, 5 times a week, but mainly every Sunday, this particular energy is what kept these particular entities or these particular gods that was ruling the universe, ruling this realm here, not the universe, alive. So when you go in there and start praying to these particular deities, you give that particular energy up, and it'll actually revitalize these particular deities by you giving out that type of energy. And that's why there's even greater campaign to put people back more and more into church. So you got thousands and thousands of black people finding Jesus, especially the ones that's been on crack and all that kind of stuff here. So they say, well, one brother asked me in South Carolina, he said, you said that Jesus never existed, and he is the enemy. Well, why is it that people can be on crack and can go into church and get off crack? I say they didn't go into church and get off crack based on Jesus. We have a mechanism in us which is called a subconscious, and you can tap into that subconscious and you can rid yourself from not only is by us being spiritual people, and when they go into the actual church, they actually tap into that subconscious by using the deity of Jesus, and it goes straight to the subconscious, which is an ancient way that we used to deal with statues and the Christ and the actual netters by focusing on a deity to tap into the subconscious. So they do it haphazardly, and they just attribute it to some Jesus Christ getting their ass off a crack. You see, from some Jesus Christ getting them off a crack. So therefore, these churches are actually vampire centers to revitalize this particular energy. But I think at this particular time, based on the way we see the weather is actually going to, that is not even working at this particular time. We think that the energy where they could access that melanated energy that we used to give them, they have slipped under that particular realm, so therefore they have become more and more asleep. Now, I think there's a book that talks about it, which is a Cthulhu book, which you know was written by H.P. Lovecraft, which was the writer that wrote a lot of the Cthulhu mythos in the 1920s and the 1930s. Well, there's a book that actually talks about how the great old ones used to rule, which is us. They used to rule where man lives now. It says that the great old ones used to rule where man lives now. But it also says, but it also goes in to say that the actual God, and I mentioned this last night, but the cycles, they say the stars had to be right before the great Cthulhu or we rise up again. Well, when the stars became right, that meant that in actuality, that was a cycle or a conjunction, a period of time when the actual deities that was ruling, their energy would burn out and they would actually go to sleep. And that would actually, by them becoming weak, that energy becoming weak, it would no longer be able to sustain the physical realm that would actually keep us down. This is also a reason why black people are going crazy now. This is a reason why black people are the worst people you meet now. You see what I'm saying? And this is true. Let's be frank about this shit. And crack ain't made you madder than a nigga the last couple of months. That is because black people no longer have control over their body and their actions because the energy in us is higher than the physical body. Than the actual physical body. And as I said in previous lectures, that energy is actually now rejecting the physical body. So the main thing in lining up this particular energy is not to focus on things so much as physical, but on the other hand is to become more and more like children. Become more and more innocent and become unorthodox in your particular living. Whereas the unorthodox in your particular living to the point whereas you just basically look like a damn lazy bum or whatever, but in actuality you don't necessarily have to be lazy, but just live like you do in high school. and always live one day at a time. And get out of the structured life, which actually is the thing that shuts down the actual melanin in the first place. And try to identify with the 12 man or somebody like that that is on such a primitive level that you think, which is actually primal level, that he doesn't have the newer structures that confine him. So this is how you line up this particular energy. At this particular time. As we also said, recapping, that anytime you take time, and this is going and piggybacking on what I just said, anytime you set a particular goal in front of you, you are a particular goal a couple of months or a couple of years down the line, you have now eliminated that space of time in which you pointed out, or you aim for that goal. The time that you would spend getting to that particular goal, you have now eliminated that particular time. In actuality, what you have actually done is you have made an extension and made time go on, because we the one that keep the actual time going on by all our goals and stuff in the future. If you gods or higher beings, whatever you want is whatever you get. So therefore, we should not live but one day at a time on any level. And don't use your children as an excuse, because that's the main thing which actually destroys us, because especially most people, male and female, if the male is in the home but female if it's not, is that once you have a baby, 99% of the time, you basically give your future up for that child. Everything that you once used to have reserved for yourself is now transferred to that child. You see what I'm saying? And that child, that means you actually throw away your life, because there's no guarantee what a motherfucker might turn out to be when they get 18. You know, you got some people, it's the greatest disciplinarians. They raised the children. I know some people that raised their children, gave them everything. They did everything what it was, but the child still turned out being an asshole in and out of prison. So that lets you know right then that in actuality, just for you just basically teaching a person verbally or mentally is probably the only thing you need to do. But as far as a social, economical structure, it doesn't really necessarily mean that. We understand that we are the race of people that defy those odds, that you don't necessarily need an economical structure to rise up. But that's neither here nor there, because we understand that we don't want a world, if this world survives, we don't want a world where our children would be in the damn future, because it'll be all fucked up. And that's what, if you go back and look at JFK, that's what he was trying to tell his wife. She was like, you changed, you changed. He said, of course I've changed. I got knowledge and my eyes have opened. It's not about our 2 cars. It's not about what these children eat and all that type of stuff, saying, hell, we might not even have a world for them to go to. So this is the concept on what we talk about by eliminating personal responsibility. That's the main thing with the white man tell you, take personal responsibility. We're saying eliminate that personal responsibility, and the only responsibility you need is the knowledge to be your main agenda. The knowledge to be your main agenda. So what does this mean? Does this mean you walk out in the street and don't do anything and just lay on the corner? No, it just means be in the world but not of the world, and you can function on a day-to-day basis, but that is not the main priority. So you can go to work, you can even go sit in on board meetings, and you can do the same damn thing agenda to keep your damn finances going, but you're not necessarily into it. You're just staying on top of the water and doing just enough to stay on top of the water, but not doing like black people from age-old times have done, where we have become the actual job. So we got a job. Working at 7-Eleven. Can I get a little more mayonnaise? And they pitch a damn bitch over. Is the one that's got the most menial job, that raised more hell about the white in charge of the goddamn butter. I'm in charge of this butter. I'm in charge of this butter. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, we have to get rid of this personal responsibility like by being in the world but not of the world, for the simple doggone fact that we have a certain condition that we have become our jobs and our occupation and our status over the future, from the hee-haws to the bourgeois. And this is a sickness that has actually become our ass. We also covered that there's 3 types of race of people on the earth. One is called the Hyalic, one is called the psychic, and one is called the Gnostic. The word hail comes from the word hail, and the word hell comes from the word hail, which means physical body and physical earth. The word Hylite means a person that just has a physical soul or physical body and energy that operates it. The word psychic is black people who have the physical and the spiritual mechanisms, but they're dead. And then you have the word Gnostic, which is gnosis or genes of Isis, which is a person that knows the consciousness level that they're actually on, and that's the immortal man. But the other one is immortal, but he's still a dead man. So right now, the immortal people are the only ones that's going to have to take the field, and we're going to actually have to deal or have to actually use what we have been given to free the rest of the people. And so it's something like this. Somebody say, well, I still can't see how all the other black people, how this is going to work when all the other black people don't get the particular knowledge. It somewhat goes like this. It's like the same I am because we are. You might be a child 10 years old and might not pay bills in the house, might not have transportation, but because your parents have the means to pay the bills and have the means to have the transportation and have the means to be economically structured, you have the same means. So that has to deal with each one of us. We represent 1,000 people, or we represent 1 million people for each one of us in this room. They don't have to have the knowledge because you have the knowledge. You have the knowledge for them. So in actuality, we are slaves and servants of the actual people. And they don't have to have the knowledge because you represent 1 million people. So that's how important we are. Just in everyday case, when you say, am I worthless? Then you should think in your mind that for the mere fact that you got knowledge, you are very special and precious as gold because you are carrying the knowledge.
Clifton Davis.
Clifton Davis, Billy D. Williams and Clifton Davis later on starred in the actual movie, the Scott Joplin story. The Scott Joplin story. So that's the. So we dedicate this to Scott Joplin at this particular time. You know, another forgotten person. But and it's not just. I mean, it's thousands of people. But I just go with the Spirit just told me to do that. So I just said, well, cool, I'll do it. You know, because I went and got the album the other day, and and got the album the other day. And so the Spirit said, to dedicate that, and I'm quite sure that's His Spirit saying, I want you to do this also too. And so we do that at this particular time. So to learn more about it, his life, you can just go and rent the movie with Billy D. Williams, I think 1976. The Scott Joplin story, I think the name of it is. So as we say, we're here in 1999, and Lord knows I started out 7 years ago. I didn't even. Well, when I first started out lecturing, but then when it got more spiritual, I was hoping that we wouldn't even be here in 1999. But then again, on the other hand, we understand that things take a gradual build-up. I was trying to get out here in 94, but as I realize now that based on the type of information or the type of knowledge I have gained, has been leaps and bounds, even in my own growing, compared to what I knew 4 years ago, compared to what I knew 3 years ago. So, in actuality, everything is still right on time. Right on time. And like I said, we're going to deal with this particular part because it's just as much prophecies of 1999 as it is the year 2000. And that's because we're still in the actual season, in which we're going to start off with today, dealing with that actual thing to let you know. We're going to start off with the hard copy in dealing with this particular aspect of the actual Bill Clinton shutdown and the whole 9 yards, with the whole impeachment, and try to understand, because there's the old prophecy that you'll know the end. You'll know the end when there's infighting among the elite. So on the other hand, there's something else that's going on all across the country, which has something to do with the whole Scott Joplin thing and all this too. As we know that jazz has its origin in all types of a spiritual thing as a form of Vodun. You see what I'm saying? Which is, as the people don't know, we're talking about voodoo. just as Christianity has its roots in gospel, the alternative, the other side, the darker side of what you call the truth side, has its origin in jazz, which leads us to this. All across the country, they now have what is called smooth jazz stations. Smooth jazz. This is all across the damn country. Now this is for a reason. This smooth jazz is because they understood that if they were going to go into the 1990s, that traditional music as jazz, classical rock and roll, which was black, as you know, which basically the classical rock and roll, especially the ones from the 70s, got its start from Jimi Hendrix. But then you have the, but then again you would go and then you would have your earlier rock and roll, which would be your doo-wop and your whole thing, Little Richard, and all that. But anyway, the type of rock and roll that the modern white boy was playing was a carbon copy, or in actuality, was their spin-off of, in actuality, Jimi Hendrix. But Jimi Hendrix played a new type of blues. And after he died, the white boy just started it and all, and just got wild with it. You see what I'm saying? The key is, even that, they had to stop this new type of, any type of rock and roll. They had to stop this too. So we know that the R&B, they had to stop that. But even the rock and roll, most of these new players now, singers now, are playing a form of country. This new jewel, you see, it's all this folk shit. You see, and all this it's a borderline bluegrass and country. It's cleverly done, but the key is they had to stop any type of remnants of the black element going into the 90s. So we know all about the R&B. They had to cut that down. So they used the rap to cut that out. But now this is not the same sophisticated rap that came out in the late 80s, early 90s. Rap has started coming into its own. So overnight they have literally re-wove this thing until now you got the masterpiece shit. This is different than the rap from the early 90s and the underground groups. You see what I'm saying? Like Diggable Planets, De La Soul, you see what I'm saying? And other types of groups and the underground groups and stuff. This is a whole nother type of rap. You see what I'm saying? Just devoid of spiritual things, or devoid of the soul in it. So on the other hand, we go back to jazz, which has its root in an experimental Vaudin energy. And for some of the people that's not clear on what I'm talking about, you can get some of my previous tapes to deal with this. But the key is, they understand that in order to keep a people down, they have to change the music that they listen to. So as a result, real classical jazz or even new experimental jazz, they cannot have. So basically Kenny G becomes the model. And now they're even calling this cracker the father of jazz. Fucking Kenny G. You see what I'm saying?
Copycat.
You see, well, they're not even copycat. We're not even talking about copycat. We're talking about something that's totally different than mainstream jazz. We're talking about a soft, instrumental R&B that basically is a new model. You see what I'm saying? It's even different than earlier Grover Washington, although he sold out. You see what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, even when we talk about the jazz of the 70s with Herbie Hancock, Grover Washington, even the damn Crusaders, you see what I'm saying? We're talking about a whole nother type of thing, and it's all called this soft jazz. You see what I'm saying? It's damn near glorified elevator music. You see? So it's not even the big band. It's nothing to do with historical jazz whatsoever. And so most young people say, yeah, I like jazz, and I listen to jazz. That's not jazz. You see what I'm saying? So all across the country, and this is very important because the reason why it's very important because as we have right here, here's your mind control book, which they have now a brand new. I just saw a brand new thing about 3 times as thick as this, a 1990 version of mind control. It's a new book out, and I will get the information to you, as well as I just remind people to either go on the internet and try to download all the stuff you can find on mind control. Because we're going to have to deal with this also tonight too. Because what you got here is, you got a country where everybody in the country is crazy. And I'm not saying it's like a figure of speech. You know, we use words so much until it becomes a figure of speech and it loses meaning. Yep. I'm telling you, literally, everybody in the country is unhealthy based on thought. And in order to make us unhealthy, they have to keep white people unhealthy. You see what I'm saying? So even though white people might behave better than us, yeah, we can say this now. White people now are behaving better than black people. Now, I'm just not being funny with this damn mess. Niggas are out of their fucking mind. But my point is, although they are doing that, everybody's a little insane. This country is crazy, sick. You see what I'm saying? And this was the whole impeachment thing. We're going to have to go into all this tonight because mind control is at the helm of it. And everything is everything. And we're trying to get to the point why, as this is the focus now, to keep everybody unhealthy. Because if anybody there thinks clear in a collective consciousness, this shit can be over tomorrow. So mind control has to be a greater trick. You see what I'm saying? And they can't just lock down everybody because when you oppress people start thinking on a higher level. So the key is to kill off a lot of the motherfuckers that you can't conform, and then or reform or whatever, or the ones that don't conform, and then the rest of the people you keep them at a zombie state. On the other hand, the music is key to that too. Although they got bad music in the, from every all aspects of R&B, the thing is all across the country. They got it here, soft jazz. In Atlanta, soft jazz. All over the country is soft jazz. And that's the key, because in the particular mind control book it says, in order for the pituitary gland to work, pituitary gland regulates the flow of melanin from the pineal gland. Although the pineal gland produces it, the pituitary gland is the one that regulates the flow throughout the body, which is this particular system, this particular paper that I've handed out. If the people don't get it, don't just remind me that people who didn't get one, just remind me and I'll give you one before you leave. But this is a great function, great graph to show you the function of melanin throughout the body. Now the key is, based on this book, Mind Control in America by Steve Jacobson. Steve Jacobson, Mind Control in the United States. Based on this particular book, it says that the main thing to control the people is the pituitary gland produces the melanin hormones, and he just say the hormones to the particular body, but also it can be changed or modified based on the music. So if you have low bass lines and no highs, then it doesn't secrete. If you have all highs and no bass, low bass line, it doesn't secrete. So black people had a certain music that came from ragtime, gospel, blues, jazz, the funk, modern day rock and roll, early rock and roll, that always had lows. Well, he said black people have a heavy bass line, but black people always had a high too.
Always had a tenor.
They always had a balance. Whereas the rock and roll, they had highs, but they didn't have no low bass line, so there was not a balance. You see what I'm saying? The case in point, Isley Brothers played rock and roll, but their shit was a balance, so therefore it was the same as soul. You see what I'm saying? My point is, the black music always had highs as well as lows. Including in the 80s when they had to synthesize the highs, they had a synthesizer bass. So basically the new black music that the youngsters are listening to is basically low bass line and hardly no music. Just a boom, tick, and hardly no music. And no highs. No highs. You understand what I'm saying? So all of this particular stuff is modified and arranged to shut down the pituitary gland, and the music companies know all about it, but the music companies is the one that was in on this type of shit. So the key here is, and so the white people who used to have a little bit of blues and rock and roll type things and was dealing with some stuff, their shit is now country and bluegrass. You see what I'm saying? So this is very key that you understand this. So this, based on the smooth jazz, you thinking it's jazz and it's catchy and it follows a tune, it's really nothing.
That's right, empty.
It's empty. It doesn't fill in the gaps.
Yes.
See, that's the key with black people. with jazz was able to, you got spaces in between the music, and the black people was able to go in and put a damn note in between the fucking spaces. This shit is just straight and plain.
And the soul rejects it.
And the soul rejects it, as well as the rap. It's not a, it's first of all, rap was supposed to be a side item, which means it was cool when it was first coined out of the inner city. But it was supposed to be like if you go to a restaurant, you have your main course and then you have your dessert. But if you go to a restaurant and they start serving you a strawberry shortcake in the beginning, you understand, that throws off shit. So now rap is the mainstream music, and it never was supposed to be the mainstream music. You see what I'm saying? And it is very controlled. So the original rap, they have cleverly done this thing. It was always supposed to be a side album, but you was always supposed to have your basic R&B. That's gone now. These little girl groups and shit they got now, it's really nothing. And a whole lot of moaning and a whole lot of this fucked up shit, and nobody really has any talent. So this is very key because it also shuts down the flow of melanin, because the key is that they cannot have anybody that has any type of genius thought pattern that can raise up overnight. And one spark leads to all sparks. So the entire country has to be on a mind control lockdown, and that's what we're dealing with here. You see what I'm saying? That's what we're dealing with here. A mind control lockdown. Now, let's deal with some things on the hard copy things so you can understand something. First of all, when I went to New York, people wanted to know about the Y2K shit. Everybody's scared about the Y2K. The Y2K. And I told them, look, fuck the Y2K. You shouldn't even be concerned with that bullshit. Oh, no, Bobby, you wrong. Oh, no, you crazy now. So C. Freeman L. broke it. He said, nah, that ain't some shit, that's something to sell some new computers. You know damn well that this man, I knew about this thing in '96. You know damn well if a fucking digital clock go past 1999, you know damn well a computer can too. But the key is they designed it because the key is to sell. You see what I'm saying?
Update on Windows.
Everything, the computer is obsolete when it hits the market.
Sure is.
How many times they done upgraded the computer since 1990?
That's right.
Since 93?
That's right. Windows 95.
Since 96? Window this, window that. Every year it's a damn window they gotta sell. It's a company. So the new thing is the Y2K shit. You see, so they say we're gonna take the Y2K models and we're gonna sell them, but we're gonna put this hysteria out here and make everybody go crazy, like the country gonna shut down. Now the key here is, number one is the brother named Minister Rod in Atlanta say, well, hell, you know the best place to be if all this shit does go down is America. People are, man, you crazy. I'm getting my passport. I'm going to Africa. Now, we can't survive 2 damn days in fucking Africa. Africa is through. First of all, there's 75,000 Africans dying a month with AIDS. You see what I'm saying? My point is, we can't even live with our damn selves. How the hell we going to live in Africa? You know what I'm saying? The key is, now why did he say that the best place to be, oh, they got mad at the nigga for saying that. Why did he say the best place to be was America? Because if the damn head of the evil empire is here, the best place to be is close to the evil empire.
That's the last place they're going to buy.
That's the last, they ain't going to tear their damn self up to get your ass and you were part of the evil empire. You see what I'm saying? That's the infiltration thing. You see what I'm saying? But the key is we don't understand spiritual things. There's a reason why we're in America in the first place.
Tell it.
There's a reason for everything. But our hysteria, so the key is everybody is now, and I looked at this thing and I said, how could this white man come and invent this Y2K thing, and all of a sudden, people just lose their mind.
That's right.
Niggas is shutting down shop. One sister had a conscious place. She went the fuck out of business because of the Y2K thing. And sure enough, C. Freeman L. say they're going to wait till the last minute and they're going to sell this new computer and everybody going to buy it because they scared. And I said, you know you're right. And sure enough, he said that this summer. And I said, you know you're right. I said, I knew it was some fake stuff from the get-go, but you put that finger on it. And sure enough, my girl works at the Atlanta Journal and Constitution newspaper, and they already Y2K. 2 weeks ago, they went Y2K compatible. They've already come in and fixed all the damn computers for the Y2K thing. So, Leonard Turling Constitution, these were some of the first crackers to break down and buy the new computers. And right on the Super Bowl, they said, Y2K is coming, but the Apple computer is already Y2K prone or whatever. That means that they're selling this shit and motherfuckers got to buy it. It's a great old payday for the cracker to get paid. And how do you do that? You tell a motherfucker they need it. You see, but we always look at something, and the thing that get me, which is so sad, we got all of this spiritual stuff coming now. Before we couldn't get nothing but the Bible and some old black ass nigga hollering at us. And now we got all this spiritual shit going down. We got all this spiritual stuff going down, and all of a sudden, somebody talking about Y2K, and we abandoned all our stuff. And he said it, Brother Bossisa said it, and I said it in the lecture in Indianapolis 2 weeks ago.